Hey everybody, this is David here, aka Chessman, and I'm continuing my series where I'm covering all the openings, doing a serious dive into chess openings. Um, I've covered, I think this is the fourth video I've done. So far I've covered one e4, I've covered one d4, I've covered the Rady system with one knight f3, and today we're doing a brief cover of one c4, the English opening. So, um, basically, um, one c4. One c4. If you look at 365chess.com, the database, e4 has been played 1,900,000 times, d4 1,200,000 times, knight f3 300,000 times, and c4 260,000 times. So we're getting further down the list to where you're picking moves that could be a surprise weapon. The moves like knight f3 and c4, they're transpositional. So a lot of moves that are made will transpose into d4 or e4 lines. c4 is known to transpose into a lot of d4 lines. We'll get into that probably in another video. We may touch upon it in this video. But basically, c4 gives you flexibility. You can either go to lines that steer towards a d4 line, or you can steer towards lines that don't. So you can try to pick, does my opponent like d4 openings or not? Do they like c4 openings or not? And then you can choose which one to go to, which one you think you're stronger. And they may make a false move. Like if you play c4 instead of d4, they may make an error that they wouldn't normally make. And then all of a sudden you can do d4 as well, and then go back into a d4 opening where you have the advantage. So we're going to go into that and see where we can benefit from the from transpositioning, to see where we can benefit in those areas. But so anyways, since there's a lot less games, there's also almost no theory on these openings. There's some, like, there is some, like, it gets worse than what it is now. Like, Wikipedia does have an English opening article, and it basically says it's a flank opening. It's the fourth most popular according to the various databases. Um, White begins the fight for the center by staking a claim to the d5 square from the wing in hypermodern style. Although many lines of English have a distinct character, the opening is often used as a transpositional device in much the same way, though to lesser extent, as the one knight f3. It says Zuckertor opening. It's really the Rady opening, but it's another name for it. Knight f3. In particular, transpositions to the king's, it can transpose into the king's Indian defense, the queen's gambit declined, among others. And we're going to cover the King's Indian Defense and the Queen's Gambit Decline in other videos, so you'll understand what that means if you haven't seen those already. This allows players to avoid certain... if you play c4, this allows players to avoid certain responses to d4 if they desire to, such as the Nimzo Indian and the Grunfeld. And I think I would like to do that. I know someone who plays the Grunfeld against me, and I'm not sure, maybe I want to avoid that. So maybe I'll start playing c4 instead of d4. But I'm not sure. So it says the two most common independent lines that usually start with c4 are the symmetrical variation, c4 c5, and the reversed Sicilian, c4 e5. Another notable independent line that does not derive from either of those is the Mechanische-Karls variation, c4, knight f6, knight c3, e6, e4. Other common independent lines such as the Neo-Catalan, the Anglo-Grunfeld, the Nimzo-English generally parallel the development of their d4 counterparts well into the game, hence their names. So, let's see. Okay, you don't have to... You can read this stuff and you can look it up if you want, but we're going to cover this in separate videos. So don't worry about it. All right. But you can come here and read about the symmetrical defense, the reverse Sicilian, and then there's other lines. We're going to cover this. And the transpositional potential. We'll cover this in other videos. Now, there's also something called the ECO code, the Encyclopedia of Chess Openings, and basically, it's classified the English opening. Basically, there are codes, and I'll show you real quick. If you go to 365chess.com, there's ECO codes, and basically, it goes from A all the way to E, and it's in letter A numerical. So it basically has a lot of the openings. Uh, so it's in for the English, it says it has been classified the English opening under the codes A10 through A39. So you can learn these lines. What I would do is I would play them on an analysis board and see what the computer rates it to see if it's good. But my guess is they're all probably playable. So you just need to figure out which lines you want to learn first. I'm going to try to cover all of them. I'm not sure if I'll be able to, but I'm at least I'm going to try. So there's a lot to cover, and I don't know how soon I'll be able to get to these openings. I'm pretty sure I'm going to cover E4 openings and D4 openings first, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'll do E4 and then go to C4, because I kind of want to be able to play C4 myself a bit better, anyways. All right, let's look at. Okay, 365chess.com also has an English opening area. Let's see. All right, so it says the objective is to apply pressure on the center d5 square without committing the queen pawn or the king pawn. Since it's a flank move, many players like the English opening because of its hypermodern style playing, which is using pieces from the sides along with minor pieces to apply pressure and control the center. White's second move depends on Black's response. If Black does not immediately try to control the center, White can fianchetto his bishop with 2g3, bishop g2, and start to apply even more pressure on the d5 square, which gives White the control over the light squares. Many English games will start out very slow as both sides build up pressure in around the center. It says, White has a variety of different ideas in each line. The general opinion is that the English opening is meant for positional and slow play. While it is somewhat true historically, the English has been implemented by players with a very aggressive approach and amazing games have been produced. Garry Kasparov was a great specialist of the English opening and has played it several times in his career, even in his match against Karpov for the world crown. The opening has always been challenging and unpleasant for Black. The arising positions are often closed and lead to very little simplifications. We may say that it is no surprise that the middle games are very complex and they demand good skills at strategy and understanding of the plans in each structure. The positional nature of the opening allows you to outplay your opponent by knowing key plans and ideas. Of course, there is also plenty of theory in the English opening that you have to be familiar with. However, the character of the opening is a lot less force. So what's great is it can lead to complex variations, like it says. And what's great is it's hardly been played. Like, it's been played, but not nearly as much as E4 and D4. So like I said, you'll most likely get a surprise factor in probably at least 80% of your games. All right. Okay. So we did a brief review of the English opening. Basically, if what my viewers have been doing, I believe, is been copying this information down or writing them down in a journal. And like, all of these are probably playable. I'd say F6 is, it says it's 0.87, so that and up is probably really playable. The ones underneath that might be a little too suspicious, but we're going to go over them to see if they are playable. And like, if your opponent makes one mistake, because if your opponent, it could be that if your opponent just makes one mistake, or one inaccurate move that you have an even game. So we're going to see if that is the case in these openings. So because we having the surprise factor is a big thing in chess. It can get you in an opening advantage. It can give you a time advantage. And if you have more experience playing the middle game from those positions, then again you're going to have the advantage. And having the advantage is huge. So let me see. I'm always expecting these videos to be a lot longer because it takes a while to get this information. And so I keep thinking the video is going to be like an hour long, but I'm always surprised that it's a lot shorter than I thought. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say in this video. I don't think so. Mainly I wanted to give you this information. The lower I go on this list, the less information there is about them. So I'm probably going to start going through in depth in each opening. So I'm probably going to start with e4 and do probably the king's pawn opening, doing e4, e5, and doing what all the playable moves are from there, and try to cover at least some of the main lines that are well-known theory. I'm trying to cover well-known theory and not well-known theory. I'm trying to do both. I want to know all the options, and I want you to know all your options. And then maybe you can choose either you can choose well-known options, or you can choose other options that maybe aren't as good but are still playable, and you might get the surprise factor. So we want to do both. I want to know if I'm playing someone that I know doesn't know the openings, I'm probably going to play well-known openings because they're the best moves. And if my opponent does know the openings but isn't good except when he knows the openings, then I'm going to try openings that he doesn't know. I'm going to try things like the Van Cruz opening, 1e3. But I'm at least going to try c4 or knight f3. And maybe g3. Maybe b3. So it's just, there's a lot to cover, and I'm really trying to figure out the best way in what order to cover them. I'm trying to figure out how I want to teach, and in what order if I was teaching a student, in what order would I give the information. So if you have any advice, let me know. I'm open to any advice. I think there are a lot of smart people out there, and some a lot smarter than I am. So I think I'm just trying to get you. I'm trying to get people this information, and I think smarter people. I think I'm smart enough to do it, but there are even smarter people out there that can really take this and fly if they just have the information. So I guess that's going to do it for now. Again, if you have any comments or anything, let me know. I think I'm still gonna do my other chess videos. If you watch the other chess videos and there's a certain one you like, please let me know in the comments, either on one of those videos or this video, just because I'm trying to figure out if I should spend more time on these videos or just as much time on my other videos. So I'm still trying to work it out. Please subscribe. If you subscribe and watch my videos, it means I can make more of these videos. And it doesn't cost anybody any money. It doesn't cost me any money. It doesn't cost you any money to do it. So it's great. I'll try not to make the videos too long, but long enough. So yeah, that's going to do it for now. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.